Hello and welcome to the next edition of the Rock and Roll Gear Show. That looks like rock and roll gear. Beg your pardon. That particularly looks like rock and roll gear. Chinese built, cheap as chips, buy it with your pocket money, Glarry Telecaster. Really wonderful, beautiful, best in my opinion, and the original American built Fender Telecaster. How are they going to stack up against one another? You know, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? This is going to be the winner pretty much on all counts. In fact, guarantee it on all counts. However, how far away from this guitar is this guitar? Stay tuned, we'll find out. Okay, reset up again. Okay, got a marker here to mark down the scores. Fender, Glarry. Okay, the Glarry make a very, very good job of replicating the shape, the body shape of the Telecaster. They are almost particularly accurate. The body thickness, which is there, the Glarry's only about 3 millimeters short of that, slightly fatter in the lower horn, but overall it's a really good representation of the body. The finish on the Glarry, however, and I've said this before, is excellent. I mean, it's very, very good, bearing in mind the price point. At 56, call it around about 60-68 pounds, I think it is, for this base model Glarry. That's very good. It is thin, and so over time it's going to attract knocks and chips. To a lot of you, that's going to be an attractive option, because you're going to wind up with a road-worn looking telly, like a relic job, if you will. So, you know, as far as the vibe's concerned and the look, I think giving that 10 out of 10 has to be. It's the original. This could earn a solid, I'm going to give that a 3. So 3 out of 10 for that. Let's mark that down. So body and finish, there's a 3. Desirability, I'm not doing these in order, by the way. Desirability, well, come on, that's a desirable guitar. Original Fender American Telecaster, Chinese built, cheap as chips, as I said. Chuck it in the cupboard, whatever, doesn't really matter. Copy Telecaster. Might set you on your journey, your guitar playing career. This could spawn the odd Bonamassa, you never know, at this stage. But, you know, really, that's a 10. I've got to give this a 1. There's other guitars out there for more money, for sure. But, you know, if you're talking about getting something which people hold low end, which people hold in high regard, you've got to be talking about Squire, I think, or similar brands. There's lower brands, sort of Washburns out there as well, that sort of thing. So I think a 1 out of 10 for that. So where's my pen? Here it is. So desirability, Glarry, you've earned yourself a 1. Different colour, but there we go. The vibe, I think the vibe of this guitar, what I mean by vibe is, you know, does it make you feel like you're looking at something that I don't know, pro musician would be playing? I think, you know, from a glance, and if you don't really know about guitars, yeah, it's got quite a good vibe to that. There's others which have equally as good a vibe, but I'm going to go for, let's give it a 2 for that, being generous. The neck, okay, now as you know, if you watched the first video, that was the Achilles heel of this guitar to start with. And I say to start with because I did have to do a little bit of work to it. I smoothed that out, smoothed the back of the neck out with some wire wool, very, very fine grade. Same with the frets. I also put a bit of attention into the nut. Didn't cut the nut any deeper, it was fine. But the shoulders of the nuts were very square, and they kind of felt like they get in the way a little bit when you're sort of handling the guitar. So I smoothed those off. They've got rounded edges now. It feels an awful lot better. As far as the action's concerned, I've got this down to about a 2 mil at the 12th fret. There is a tiny little buzz when you get down to the 1st fret there, not so much that it's going to spoil what you're doing. So the action's good and it's playing well. But I think, you know, in comparison to this, where the neck profile, I'm going to hold this up, see if you can see. The neck profile of the Fender is a good, I should have measured this for you, but I didn't, but I'd say that is, you know, like 2/3 of the thickness of the Glarry. Falls into the hand beautifully. It's a wonderful, beautiful neck, but you'd expect it from a guitar from this manufacturer, and not just this manufacturer. This is sort of an upper end. It's not custom shop, but it's like the upper end of what they produce. This isn't the Squire Standard American Fender Telecaster. It was a lovely neck, not really comparable. I think because of the effort that I think you'd have to put in to make that neck right, though you can make that neck right, out of the box, that neck has got to be a 1. Bit of work on it, and I think you could get this up to, as I have done, I would give this a 4 out of 10, probably at this stage. I'm not going to do any more work to this guitar. I think I've got the most I'm going to get out of this neck, but I feel inspired to get out of this neck. So yeah, I'm going to give the neck, I'm going to be generous, I'm going to give the neck a 2, because it's got potential, and it could be more than it is. 1 maybe a little bit too harsh. But also got to remember the price point of this guitar. It's, as I keep going on about that, I know, but it's cheap. I mean, it is cheap. Hardware, yeah, Chinese cheap hardware. I mean, it's a pressed steel ashtray type bridge. Talks about that in the other video. Cheap pickups. They are microphonic, I found. So in other words, if you tap on it, it's, I mean, if you shout into it, your voice will come out of the amplifier. These pickups on the Fender, they're what they call wax potted. In other words, they dip the pickup in wax, it stops it being microphonic. You could do the same to this, or you could swap out the pickups, put better quality ones in there. You do have to watch your budget a bit on that though, because you could get to a point where you think, oh, I'm going to put different tuners on, I'll put new pickups in, or change the electrics. All very doable, but there comes a point when you're catching up with the prices and the values of the guitars which are already done. If you feel that you're confident in doing this sort of thing and you want a platform to modify a guitar, I think this is great, because you could even get to the stage of thinking, you know what, I'm going to buy a Telecaster neck and put that on there. It could be an all parts or a Warmoth or a cheaper Chinese brand, but you could swap that out and improve the guitar for sure. So hardware, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 10 for that. Electronics, yeah, they function. There's nothing wrong with it, they work. It kind of tails into the hardware a little bit, but again, it's going to be a 2 for the electronics. No, it's going to be a 3, because actually they're nicely put together, even though they're cheaper components. Playability, going to come on to playability and sound quality in a minute. If I can give you the scores now, and then I'll do a demo of the playability and the sound quality in the next section. But I think playability out of the box is a 1 for the Glarry, but I'm going to caveat that, put a slash there, because playability, once you have fiddled about with it, if you've got the inclination or you feel confident enough to have a go at it, you'll bring it up to, I would give it a 4. That's the potential. That's where I see it potentially it could be. Sound quality, obviously, that's a 10, 100%. I mean, you know, it's been on so many world famous records, world famous guitarists using it. It's the business, that guitar, along with the others. In fact, if you put this alongside, I don't know, what would you say, like football, that's the Premiership, and this is non-division or maybe Sunday League. That's how far apart they are, though it's still a usable instrument. So sound quality for the Glarry, you're going to hear it. Hopefully it comes over the speakers okay, over the mic okay. But of sound quality, I'm going to give it a 2. Could be a lot better. Obviously a 10 for the Fender. Value for money. It's an interesting one, this. These are a lot of money. They always have been. And I bought that all those years ago, and I worked it out. I think I paid something like £600-700 for it when I bought it new. If you work that out over the years I've had it, it's like £22 a year or something. I said, actually, that is a cheap guitar if you're going to keep them that long and if you're going to enjoy them that long. There's another way of saying that this is a cheap guitar, other than that is a cheap guitar, the cheapest of cheap guitars. So value for money, you can't argue with it. It's fantastic. Even if it's on the wall as a wall hanger and you're never going to play it, it's going to look cool. If you learn to play it, if you learn to mod guitars on it, the value of it is huge, really, because it may just start your guitar playing career off. How long are you going to want to keep one of these things for? Probably about a year, I would imagine, until you start to think, actually, I might want to get something better, but it'll get you going. And that's important these days. We need new players coming into this all the time. So value for money is probably the highest score that this is going to get, and I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10, and I've only marked this down purely because it does need a little bit of work out of the box to make that a good guitar to play. So let's put that down as an 8. Right, I'm going to total those scores up and come up with a couple of Conclusions from that, and then I'm going to tail on the back of this a couple of very short sound clips so you can hear the Glarry being played, you can hear the Tele being played, be through the same settings, and I'll play the same passages so you got a good feel for what this can offer. Obviously, that's a given. Be right back. So how rock and roll was that? I thought it was pretty rock and roll actually, especially on the part of this thing here from China that cost me £56, actually performed like a beast. You may feel that I've been a little bit harsh to this guitar through the review, and perhaps I have, but it's done on purpose. I don't want to blow the smoke up a skirt of a brand or a guitar that doesn't deserve it. And to be sure, as I've said more than once in these videos, it needs a little bit of attention to bring it up to sort of a decent playing standard, which is not huge. I mean, anyone could do that at home, but what a guitar! Seriously, for £56 to produce those sounds that we got there on those recordings, it is epic. The other reason I've been harsh on it is that there are a lot of guitars on the market, you know, and there's everything from and between, and this does financially at least sit on the bottom of the pile. This is the cheapest new electric guitar you can get in the UK. Maybe you know of one that I don't, but as far as I can see when I've been looking, this is it. And I wanted to know, well, you know, how far away is it from what we would pay £1,000 plus for? And you know, honestly, those marks sort of bore it out. It totaled up to 29 out of 90. I was a bit harsh on some of those things, but it does just go to show that can you get a playable guitar for this money? You can. I did, and I played it, and I like it. And not only that, you know what? I think I might just keep it. Thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure doing this video. Please thumbs up, like and subscribe. Comment if you want to comment. Always happy to come back to you. And I'll be looking forward to seeing you on the next edition of the Rock and Roll Gear Show. Stay safe.